And to unpack Jacob Zuma's latest corruption trial sitting, we've roped in legal commentator Ulrich Roux. Thank you so much, Ulrich, for standing by for us. Ulrich, it would be seen as vindictive and churlish, I presume, to deny an application when somebody is currently under hospital care.
Hi, good day, Annika. Yes, certainly. If there is sufficient evidence to show and to confirm that a person is in fact in need of extensive medical treatment and is not fit to stand a trial or to attend to a hearing, then the matter should quite rightly be postponed until such time that the accused can stand trial and is medically fit to do so. But interesting, timelines and deadlines set by the judge today, of course, granting the state the opportunity to have Mr. Zuma assessed by their own doctors as well, and not giving them, a very long time for those reports to be submitted. So, yes, I think the right decision to postpone the matter, and there are strict conditions in place. So hopefully, one could have clarity on his medical condition sooner rather than later, and then for the matter to start as soon as possible.
Ulrich, does the former president or any suspect in this case have the right for that medical report to be kept privileged and confidential?
Yes, they do. I think in a matter such as this, obviously there's a lot of scrutiny and there's a lot of public interest in Jacob Zuma's corruption trial, and if the medical condition or the treatment is of a privileged nature and should be kept confidential, then the legal team can apply to the court to keep it as such, and then it is at the discretion of the court to keep that confidential. So they are full within their rights to request that, and the court is then to exercise its own discretion as to whether it will keep that confidential or not. Interestingly, as Mr. Mpofu pointed out and Mr. Trengrove confirmed, as well as the judge, the court is not a medical expert. The court cannot, make certain submissions regarding a person's health and their medical condition, and thus relies upon doctors and the reports of doctors and medical experts to do so. And quite correctly, the judge confirmed that today, that they should await the reports from the doctors that are assessing and treating Mr. Zuma, and then also, have a look at the report submitted by the doctor for the state, and then make its own decision, guided by those reports, as to whether Mr. Zuma should be standing trial or not in person, or whether the matter should be postponed extensively in order for him to be treated adequately and then to stand trial. Interestingly, also, his legal team confirming that the medical treatment that is required can take a substantial amount of time, up to 6 months. And again, the court cannot make an adjudication on that. The court must be guided by these medical reports. So if the reports are submitted, and the state, and Advocate Trengrove in particular, is not in agreement with what the report states, then it could very well request the court to call for an inquiry and for them to cross-examine those doctors and to determine whether they are in fact adequately and truthfully assessing Mr. Zuma, and whether those reports can be relied upon as being truthful and a report that the court can use in order to make an adjudication.
Realistically, Ulrich, if we look at somebody who needs at least 6 months care in order to be fit to stand trial, the court goes into recess towards, I don't know if it's early December, could we possibly be looking at this case only going back to trial again next year?
Well, I think that we must be guided by Jacob Zuma's previous, appearances in court and his strategy to delay matters and to kick the can down the road, as we say. But it will only last up until a certain point of time. He has now adduced evidence that he is in need of urgent medical attention, and unfortunately, if a doctor confirms that, and the doctor withstands scrutiny, then that should be the case. But we must also remember the constitutional rights that a person is entitled to a fair and a speedy trial, but also that the state is entitled to prosecute the person fairly and speedily. So those rights must be weighed up. Having considered that, one could most likely expect the trial to only start towards the end of the year and maybe early next year. I think the one thing that we must remember, of course, is that Jacob Zuma does remain a person who is incarcerated. He is currently serving his sentence of imprisonment subsequent to being held in contempt of a constitutional court order. So it is not as if he's enjoying his freedom whilst the corruption trial is being delayed. But we will have to wait and see whether those doctors' reports stand up to scrutiny and whether the court can rely on them. And that will determine whether the matter starts sooner rather than later.
All right. Ulrich Roux, legal commentator there. Thank you so much. Let's